A refinement of using web-based videos for teaching content to students is a recent change I made to using the College of Natural Sciences Quest system, which is an interactive learning and assessment tool. Quest is a web-based platform and is open to all faculty at the University of Texas, and it allows us to marry a bunch of content like videos and text with questions that we assign to students every night. And in this way, I make a reading assignment that's active. The students are probed about what they learned, and it's in a sense that the students have to do it because they're getting a grade based on following that assignment. It's a way of making sure that they've read the content and knowing that what it is that they learned in the process. So here's an example of a course that's embedded in Quest. This is my introductory physics class, and you can see that there's a sort of syllabus view. Each of the yellow bars here represents a major topic in the class for introductory physics. There's usually some review of math, and then one goes into kinematic equations of motion and forces and Newton's laws. And you can expand each of these bullets here with the little cross or the minus to either see all the subtopics or compress it into just its yellow bar. So for kinematics, there are several assignments for the students to complete. These things with a little arrow next to it are so-called learning modules. That would be the nightly reading assignment that a student would be asked to read. And this set of assignments then had a series of due dates that were consecutive class days for my class. And then at the end, there would be a homework, a summary of all the kinds of questions of that topic that I wanted students to be able to master. That is the old-fashioned homework that we're used to. So for this particular topic, there were 4 classes devoted to it, so 4 learning modules, nightly assignments to master that material, and then a homework. And then with Newton's laws, several learning modules, and then a homework, and so on. So what's a learning module? Well, I began with learning modules by embedding some videos in there, and these were just the videos I was posting on a website for a long time. All the things that I wanted students to know based on my lecture notes, and I basically chunked it up into short segments. A video was a very specific topic. How to do a Lorentz boost from one reference frame to another, or how to go do a Lorentz boost in the backwards direction, and so on. So this would be a very short tutorial for the students to listen to. But you could equally well not use a video. You could just put a bunch of text in this first page of the learning module. The next page of a learning module, in my case, would have been a simulation. So this is a Mathematica tool that I put in here, and I gave the students some instructions, and then I expected them to play around with some of the buttons here on this Mathematica simulation, or the sliding parameter, the transformation velocity between 2 reference frames. And I wanted the students to interact with this simulation before answering a bunch of questions. Well, then I had some questions for the students to answer in this learning module. Again, all of this would be a nightly assignment to show that they'd read and understood the material. So here's a short question for the students to ponder, and they were asked to input a numerical answer, the result of a relatively simple computation using some equations they had just learned. I also embedded in this learning module some multiple choice questions. This is just a concept question of, and the students were asked to choose amongst 5 possible answers. The students are given immediate feedback. They're told if they're right or wrong, and if you as the instructor would like for the students to see a solution right away or to have a second chance of guessing, then you can set the parameters. But in my case, since this was just a learning tutorial, I had allowed the students to make several guesses, and then after the 3rd or 4th guess, I gave them the solution or the explanation of this particular problem. And then to end a nightly assignment, there might be several learning videos and several questions, concept questions. I asked the students one final question, which is to have them write me something that they were confused about. So in this little dialog box over here to the right, the students could write a couple sentences, a whole paragraph, as much as they wanted, to let me know what it is that they were confused about. So this is a kind of a encapsulation of what I would normally have done in lecture. I would have normally done some lecturing. I would have asked the students a simple concept question, and then I would have taken questions from the audience. That's the same thing, except now it's all happening in Quest. The great thing about this is it's all due before they come to class, and I get some data. So here I get to see all the responses from all the students that have engaged in the learning module in Quest, and I can see, yes, the students have answered this, this, and this to these various questions, and I can see what it was that they decided to write me at the end of this learning module about what they were confused about. I also can come up with some statistics. Oh, it looks like on question number One, it looks like, well, lots of the class got the correct answer, E, but a significant fraction of the class answered B, and so I had to go back and look at that question and see what it was the most common misconception. This set of analytics tools allowed me then to construct what it was I was going to cover in class. I could tailor my presentation or my activities in class around the things that the students were writing me, or the misconceptions I saw, or the important things that I needed to clarify for the day. I would typically have these learning modules due the night before class, and then I would have all morning before class to get ready. It typically took me an hour, once I saw all this data, to assemble a few questions, a few targeted puzzles that the students and I could work through in class to make for a good clarification of some of the night's presentation. But this is, at this point, essentially what would have happened during a lecture class, except now I get to go a little further. I get to take all this data and do something with it in the classroom itself. In a normal class, this would have all happened. We would have all closed up our notebooks, and I would have left, wiping the chalk off my pants. At this point, now I get to actually do some work with the students on what they did and what they did not get.